Alright guys and girls, this is the Mechanuts YouTube channel. Today we're going to be taking some parts off of this small block Chevy engine so that I can get them prepped and painted so that they can go back on the engine. I'm going to be doing some work to the actual engine. I've got to swap cams. It's got a 292 duration 480 lift cam with 1/6 roller rockers. It's a little bit too much duration for driving around on the street and being in a full-size pickup truck. The engine was originally in a short wheelbase Scottsdale that was used for drag racing, and I acquired the truck, pulled the engine out. Actually, my friend did. This is his shop. Put it in his truck, didn't really like it, put his old motor back in. I'm going to swap cams on it, see if I can get it to get a little bit more grunt down low so it'll actually be usable. But before I do that, as you can see, it definitely needs to be gussied up a little bit. I'm going to start by taking off the valve covers and the intake manifold. We'll get the distributor out of there. Probably going to go ahead and take the water pump off, get some of these brackets, go ahead and take them over to my house so I can sand them down, prep them, and paint them. And then after that, once the parts arrive, we'll actually dig into the engine. At that point, we'll be doing a cam install, plugging a distributor, setting timing, various other things that need to be done before we stab the engine in. At this point, I've decided on a comp cams, 262, 270 duration. That's around 460 and 469 lift, I believe, and with those 1/6 roller rockers, that's going to put me right around the 1/2 inch lift. The heads are 007 Summit heads that originally had springs and rocker setup, 1.5 rocker setup that would handle up to about, I think it was 5/100ths lift, so about a 1/2 inch. At this point, I don't want to do stall converter and have to change out pistons to get the correct compression for this cam. So really, I've decided the easiest thing to do is just to swap out the cam. Otherwise, I'm going to be spending a lot more money and a lot more time doing other things on it, when really all I'm going to be doing is putting around town in this thing, maybe pulling a trailer every once in a while. So that much duration is way too much. I mean, for instance, let's see, this is actually the box for the cam right here. And I believe the cam card information is on here as well. I don't know how well you can see that, but at 50 duration, which is supposed to be halfway up the cylinder, it's already at 230 on the intake and exhaust. I've seen larger cams that have less duration at 50, and it being a single grind cam, it was actually a bracket cam that was for the Pro Street bracket, but it was designed, God, 20-30 years ago. The new cam I'm getting has a little bit newer, fresher design. The lobe separation is going to be a 110, so it's going to definitely have some chop. I think one of the reasons that this cam was used by so many people is because of the idle and a lot of the times misdirection from the cam manufacturers themselves. I called 3 or 4 different cam manufacturers. I'm not going to name any names, but another cam manufacturer, not Elgin, because that's what that cam is, specified that exact cam specs for this engine for my application, which I absolutely know is wrong. So just a warning, just because you call, you know, one of the 3 or 4 main cam makers and ask them questions, they may not always understand what you're saying, and they may just always, you know, they may not always be right. So be careful there and make sure you do your research before you build an engine, because you may end up having to do what I'm doing, taking apart an engine that has about 150 miles on it. It's sat in the truck for 2 or 3 years at this point. So it's very low mileage. Everything on it's fresh. It's just not going to work for my application. So at this point, like I said, I'm just going to start tearing everything down and trying to get it ready for prep, because she's pretty ugly at this point. Another reason we're here is because before I start ordering gaskets, I want to take some measurements as well. Let's see what we're going to need. When you're taking these off, it doesn't really matter what order you pull them off in, as long as you're keeping up with what bolts go where. Some of them are longer than others. And of course, one of the fun things about redoing something someone else has already done is that sometimes bolts themselves aren't even all the same size. So you're really running around trying to figure out what the last guy did so you can do what you need to do. I'm going to have to get a wrench on this distributor so I can get it off of there. And yes, I know I'm bringing a handful of wrenches over here. That's because I don't know what size it is. I definitely am not that good that I can just look. I can get close, you know, within almost every wrench in the box. That's alright, you'll forgive me. Because who cares if I mess this up? It's mine. Alright, you know what? I'm gonna have to move this a little bit, because this just in a bad spot. Alright. Alright, the distributor is pulled. Let's set that back there. Guess I don't need this in the way quite yet. Now, if it's not obvious yet, this is my first YouTube video. So we are actually starting this adventure together right now. Right now I'm just removing the bracket off of the intake that holds the throttle valve cable and the accelerator cable. And looking for somewhere to start putting all of this stuff. I don't think I'm going to remove this until we get to the house with it. I don't really see a point. Although it is interesting that I keep finding washers down in the valley here, not on the inside of the intake, luckily. Well, that's interesting. Oh wait, that's where the brackets went. Yeah, don't be like me and get confused and think that bolts are missing when they're really not. Let's see. It's really hot in here, so I may have to turn the fan on. And yeah, I'm just gonna have to drown myself out for a little while. If y'all can hear me now. If not, then probably better off. Means I can just do some kind of song over this part and just talk to you. But if you can hear me, that's good too. Crossover for the cooling. It's so big you can't get a socket on it. It's kind of lame. I brought my, there it is. Alright. Well, you know what? I have new gaskets. I'm going to make this easy on myself. The last day of July in Alabama. And it is hot. These aluminum valve covers in pretty easy. So I'm going to do it this way. Make sure you're not trying to put all the pressure in one spot. You want to just hammer it in a little bit. A lot of the times you can just twist the screwdriver like that and get a lot of it off that way. Unless I'm missing something, this should come off once we break the seal. Since it's got an entire tube of RTD on it, it's probably going to be a pain in the butt. That was easier than the damn valve cover gas. Quite all right. Let's get it covered up with a plastic bag and get out of here. Wish me luck. Maybe this will fit. I'm going to turn the fan off. Let's see if I can do this one. Actually, I'm taking that out because that's just sticking out there. And I don't want it to be. Well, damn. I read on the forums that these Home Depot contractor bag slid perfectly up over a small block engine. I'm not seeing that. That doesn't seem to be the case. Perhaps that was a different size. I'm going to take all this stuff back to my house, clean it up, and paint it. I'll do the same thing to the block. Just haven't decided what color scheme I'm going with yet. Probably black and red, because that seems to be everything I buy is black and red. The truck's red.